Chapter 4 The World of the Living 4.3 Body Movements. Living organisms show various types of movements. A movement involving change in position is called locomotion. A movement involving change in position is called locomotion. Movements in animals are of various types depending on the structure of their bodies. The body part that forms supporting structure of an organism is called skeleton. The body part that forms the supporting structure of an organism is called a skeleton. There are mainly two types of skeleton: the exoskeleton, EXO skeleton, and the endoskeleton, ENDO skeleton. Exoskeleton. The skeleton present on the body surface is called exoskeleton. Example: scales in fish, epidermal scales and bony scales in reptiles, wings, feathers and claws in birds, and hair, nails, claws and hoofs in mammals. Hair, nails, claws and hoofs in mammals. Epidermal means on top of the skin. Dermal means skin. Endoskeleton. The hard skeletal framework present inside the body is called endoskeleton. It is formed of cartilages, bones, or both. Endoskeleton is formed of cartilages or bones or both cartilages and bones. In cartilaginous fishes, endoskeleton is comprised of cartilage. In bony fishes and amphibians, the endoskeleton comprises of both cartilages and bones. Birds and mammals have majorly bony endoskeleton. Human skeletal system. The human skeletal system is made up of 206 bones, 206 bones. There are around 300 bones in the newborn at the time of birth, but many of the bones get fused together during the growth of a baby into an adult. Human skeletal system has skull, backbone or spine, rib cage, girdles, and limbs. Skull, backbone or spine, rib cage, girdles, and limbs. The bones in the human skeletal system are the skull, the facial bones, the clavicle, the scapula, the ribs, the sternum, the humerus, that is the upper arm bone, the ulna and the radius, that is the bones of the forearm, the carpals, the metacarpals and phalanges, PHALANGES, of the hands, the spine, the pelvis, that is the hip bone, the sacrum, the tailbone, the femur, the thigh bone, patella, the knee bone, the tibia and the fibula, the two bones of the leg, and the tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges of the feet. The bones of the hand are the humerus, that is the upper arm bone, the ulna and the radius of the forearm, and the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges of the hand. The bones of the human leg are the femur, the thigh bone, the patella, the knee bone, the tibia, and the fibula of the leg. The tibia is the fatter bone, the fibula is the thin bone, and the tarsals, metatarsals, and the phalanges of the feet. For the hands, the bones are the carpals, the metacarpals, and the phalanges. And for the feet, the bones are the tarsals, the metatarsals, and the phalanges. Functions of the skeletal system. 1. Shape and support. It forms the hard framework inside our body that supports the body and holds it upright. 2. Protection. The bony framework also protects the soft organs of the body. For example, the bones of the skull protect the brain and the rib cage protects the lungs and heart. 3. Movement. We are able to bend or rotate our body in places where bones of our body are joined together, like the elbow, shoulder, or neck, and these places are called joints. Hence, joints in our skeleton help us in movement. 4. Blood cell formation. Though bones are hard from outside, they are soft and spongy from inside. The inside of bones contains soft substance called the bone marrow. Blood cells are produced in the bone marrow. Blood cells are produced in the bone marrow. 5. Mineral reserve. Bones store essential body minerals like calcium and phosphorus. Types of bones. There are three types of bones. The skeleton is formed by three types of bones, that is, long bones, short bones, and flat bones. 1. Long bones. These have long cylindrical shaft with thick and broad ends. These are found in arms and legs. 2. Short bones. These are found in the ankle and the wrist. The short bones of the vertebral column are ring shaped. 3. Flat bones. They have two thin layers of compact bone enclosing between them a layer of spongy bone. These bones protect vital organs of the body. There are flat bones of the skull, our ribs, the sternum, and the pelvis. The sternum is the vertical bone in the middle of our chest. The ribs attach themselves to the sternum in the front. Parts of the human skeleton. The human endoskeleton can be divided into two parts on the basis of the position of the skeletal structures in the body: the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. Not the perpendicular, the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton is present on the median longitudinal axis of the body, and the appendicular skeleton is present on the lateral side, which extends outwards from the principal axis. The different parts of the human skeleton are as follows. The axial skeleton has the skull, the vertebral column, the ribs, and the sternum. The appendicular skeleton has the pectoral girdle, the pelvic girdle, the bones of the forelimb, and the bones of the hind limb. The skull. The skull provides helmet-like protection to our brain. It consists of two main parts, the cranium and the facial bones. The cranium is a brain case that encloses and protects the brain. It's not a suitcase, it's a brain case. It is formed by 8 flat bones that are joined firmly. A pair of eye sockets is attached to the cranium. Visualize the diagrammatic view of the human skull. The lateral view is the view that you see from the side, and the anterior view is the view that you see from the front. The posterior view is the view you see from the back. The bones of the skull are the frontal bone, the pair of parietal bones, the pair of temporal bones, the occipital bone, the nasal bone, the orbit, the maxilla, and the mandible. The maxilla and the mandible are the jaw bones. The joint between the skull bones is called a suture, S-U-T-U-R-E. The facial bones comprise of the upper and lower jaws and some nearby structures. There are 14 bones which form the skeleton of the face. The upper jaw is firmly attached to the end of the cranium. Teeth are attached to the jaw bones. The lower jaw is the only movable bone in the skull and helps us to chew, eat, talk, yawn, etc. The lower bone is the only movable bone in the skull. It is the mandible. The mandible, the only movable bone in the skull. Functions of the skull. The function of the skull is to protect the brain. The skull bears jaws which help us to chew our food. The skull protects and supports the special sense organs, that is, our ears, our eyes, our nose, and our tongue. Tongue. The vertebral column or backbone. The backbone extends from the base of the skull to the hips. It is formed of 33 small bones called vertebrae. 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 33 small bones called the vertebrae. Olympiad bite. Animals are broadly classified as invertebrates and vertebrates on the basis of the absence or presence of the vertebral column. The backbone is absent in invertebrates and the backbone is present in vertebrates. The vertebral column is differentiated into the following regions: the cervical vertebrae, the neck region with 7 bones, like the 7 colors of the rainbow. The 7 bones of the cervical vertebrae, cervical, cervical vertebrae, vertebrae, neck region are C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7. The thoracic vertebrae, thoracic, thoracic, vertebrae vertebrae of the chest region has 12 bones, T1 to T12, like the 12 months of the year. The lumbar vertebrae, lumbar, lumbar, vertebrae vertebrae of the abdomen region. Your lower back comprises the lumbar vertebrae. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae, like the 5 fingers on your hand and the 5 toes on your feet. So your lower back, L for lower back, L for lumbar. The lower back region is called the lumbar region, and the lumbar vertebrae are 5 in number, like the 5 fingers of your hand: L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. So our neck region contains 7 bones, C1 to C7, like the colors of the rainbow. Our chest region contains 12 bones, T1 to T12, like the months of the year, like the 12 months of the year. And our abdomen region contains 5 bones, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. The vertebral bones of our neck region are C1 to C7. Why? Because that is the cervical vertebrae. C for cervical, so C1 to C7. The bones of the chest region are T1 to T12. Why? Because those are the thoracic vertebrae. So T for thoracic, so T1 to T12. The bones of the abdomen region, that is the lower back region, are L1 to L5, like the 5 fingers on our hand. Why? Because L for lumbar. And these bones, these 5 bones, are the bones of the lumbar vertebrae. The sacral vertebrae of the hip region contain 5 bones. The caudal vertebrae of our tail region contain 4 bones. Sacral of the hip region, caudal of the tail region. Sacral vertebrae has 5 bones and the caudal vertebrae has 4 bones. The 5 sacral vertebrae are fused, that is joined in an adult, forming one structure called the sacrum, SACRUM. Similarly, the 4 caudal vertebrae are reduced and fused to form a curved triangular bone called the coccyx. The coccyx, 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 coccyx. The vertebrae are hollow at the center and contain a small canal through which an extension of the brain called the spinal cord passes. The spinal cord is an important part of our nervous system which controls our actions. The vertebrae are joined serially together by elastic cartilage called intervertebral discs that permit various movements of the vertebral column. The vertebral column. So the total number of bones in the vertebral column are C1 to C7, 7 bones, T1 to T12, 12 bones, L1 to L5, 5 bones. So 7 plus 12 plus 5, 24 bones. The sacrum, 25 bones. And the coccyx, 26 bones. So the vertebral column has a total of 26 bones. 7 plus 12 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 12 is 24. Plus 1 is 26. Olympiad bite. The first cervical vertebra is called Atlas, Atlas. It is named after the mythological Atlas who supported the world on his shoulders just like this vertebra supports the head. C1 is also called Atlas. The second cervical vertebra is called axis, Axis, axis. So C1 is Atlas and C2 is axis. C1 to C7 cervical vertebrae, T1 to T12 thoracic vertebrae, L1 to L5 lumbar vertebrae, sacrum and coccyx. The sacrum is a fusion of 5 bones. You join your 5 fingers of each hand in prayer. That's a sacred thing that you do, and so the sacrum is a fusion of 5 bones. The coccyx is a fusion of 4 bones of the caudal vertebrae of the tail region. The coccyx is your tailbone. The coccyx is your tailbone. Do you know that when we injure our coccyx, that is our tailbone, it is very painful to sit down. And so usually people with an injured coccyx have to sit on a tire tube. Functions of the backbone. It helps us to move our neck, to sit, to stand erect and maintain an upright posture. It also protects the delicate spinal cord. So the backbone has 4 functions. 1. To help us to move our neck. 2. To sit. 3. To stand erect and maintain an upright posture. And 4. To protect the delicate spinal cord. So to move our neck, to sit, stand erect and to protect the delicate spinal cord. The rib cage. The rib cage is formed by a sternum and 12 pairs of ribs. The sternum is our breastbone. The sternum is flat, elongated, about 15 centimeters long, and dagger shaped. Yes, the sternum is a flat bone. It is located in the center of the chest region and is also called the breastbone. Ribs are long, curved bones. The first 7 pairs of ribs are attached to the sides of the vertebrae at the back and to the sternum in the front, like the 7 colors of the rainbow. The 8th, 9th and 10th pair of ribs are called false ribs because they are indirectly attached to the breastbone via cartilage. The last 2 pairs of ribs are free in the front, not attached to the breastbone and are called floating ribs. They are only attached to the vertebrae. So, rib pairs 1 to 7 are attached to the sternum in the front. Rib pairs 8, 9, 10 are false ribs because they are indirectly attached to the breastbone via cartilage. What is the breastbone? Breastbone is the sternum. The last 2 pairs of ribs, 11 and 12, are floating ribs. Remember, the floating ribs are only attached to the vertebrae. Functions of the rib cage. The rib cage protects the heart and lungs and also parts of the liver and kidneys. The ribs also play an important role in respiration as they provide surface for the attachment of muscles concerned with the respiratory mechanism. So the rib cage helps in the protection of the soft organs of the heart, lungs and parts of the liver and kidney, and it also supports the respiratory mechanism by providing a surface for the attachment of the respiratory related muscles. Thank you, Lord, for the 8 flat bones of our cranium. Thank you, Lord, for the 14 bones of the skeleton of our face. Thank you, Lord, for the 33 bones of our vertebral column, which become 26 bones after the 5 sacral vertebrae of the hip region fuse to form the sacrum, and after the 4 caudal vertebrae of our tail region fuse to form the coccyx. Thank you, Lord, for our 12 pairs of ribs, the 7 pairs of true ribs, the 3 pairs 8, 9, 10 of false ribs, and the 2 pairs 11 and 12 of floating ribs. Thank you, Lord.